Good evening, everyone. Before we start the council meetings, I will take you through the governance rules. During the council meeting, members of public cannot address the meeting outside of public question time, must not interject or act offensively, must remain seated, must switch mobile phones to mute, must not operate any recording devices without obtaining consent from the CEO. Can display placards or posters provided they are not offensive, do not obstruct entrances and exits to the chamber or impede any view or a person. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Council meeting Monday, 9th of September 2024. Item 1.2, attendance, please, Mr. Mani Vasagasavam.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Milkovic is an apology tonight.
Thank you. Item 1.3, acknowledgement of traditional custodians of land. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Bunurong people, and pay respect to their elders past and present. We recognise and respect their continuing connections to climate, culture, country and waters, and we also pay our respect and acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and their elders present here today in acknowledging their journey. Item 1.4, offering of prayer, reflection or affirmation. As part of Council's commitment to recognising the cultural and spiritual diversity of our community, the prayer, reflection or affirmation this evening will be offered by Pastor David Owen from Combined Churches, Greater Dandenong. If we could all please stand.
On behalf of myself, Noble Park Christian Church and the Dandenong Ministers Fellowship, I thank you for this opportunity to open in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we commit this meeting this evening to you. We ask that you would guide the councillors in their decision-making in order to make the city of Greater Dandenong a better and safer place to live. We ask, Lord, that the multitudes of nationalities represented within the city of Greater Dandenong would be an example to other multicultural cities as to how to live and prosper together in peace and harmony, and that council decisions would be reached that would benefit our communities, both as individuals and corporately. In these times of uncertainty, growth and unrest, we pray that the councillors and officers of this great city would have great wisdom as to ways forward to bring a greater hope and future for the residents and communities of this wonderful city. We thank you for hearing our prayers, Lord, and we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor David. Appreciate that. If we could all be seated. Item 1.5, confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. If I could have a mover, please.
Thank you. Second.
Councillor Mehmeti, and sorry, who was that? Thank you, Councillor Dan. So seconder, are there any questions? Any opposition? The item is carried. Item 1.6, disclosures of interest. Mr. Mani Vasagasavam.
None received.
Thank you.
This evening, Council would like to formally acknowledge Councillor Angela Long, who will be receiving a Councillor Service Award in recognition and appreciation of 25 years of dedicated public service. Councillor Angela Long, could you please join me to the lectern? Councillor Long's significant service to local government and to the community of the Greater Dandenong region is a remarkable achievement and is much appreciated by the residents of our city. This extensive 25-year commitment has shown Councillor Angela Long to be a dependable voice and a dedicated leader, supporting and implementing change and development across Greater Dandenong, whilst being such a positive role model, especially for women in local government. In particular, Councillor Long's work and active participation with the Indigenous communities, volunteers, seniors and other local community groups continues to help shape Council's future planning for the city. Please join me in congratulating Councillor Angela Long, whose efforts have made a major impact on the quality of life for community members and groups who live and work in our city.
Thank you. 25 years on council is about 1/3 of my life. I was first elected onto the Greater Dandenong Council in March 1997 and served until November 2005. Then re-elected in November 2008. I have seen many councillors come and go during this time. 2 were elected onto state government and 1 onto federal government. I have had the privilege of being elected as mayor on 3 occasions. The years were 2000, 2012 and 2020. I would like to thank my husband Barry for putting up with all the committees and clubs that I belong to that have kept me away from home. He has been quite a good cook on those nights. But if I'm home, I will do the cooking. We have a very good relationship, and thank you.
Could I also ask Barry Long to come up as well?
You get the flower to be.
Visual photographer. Beautiful, thank you.
Item 2, Officers' Reports, Part 1. 2.1, Documents for Sealing. 2.1.1, Documents for Sealing. If I could have a mover, please.
Happy to move, thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Councillor Lim.
Seconded.
Thank you, Councillor Sophie Tan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? That item is carried. Item 2.2, Statutory Planning Applications. 2.2.1, Town Planning Application number 34, Shepworth Avenue, Noble Park, Victoria 3174, Planning Application number PLN 23/0567. Yes, Councillor O'Reilly.
Mayor, I have an alternate motion.
If you could read that out to us, please. Do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. Do you want the second?
Sorry,
first?
read out your alternate first.
Thank you, Mayor. The alternate motion is that Council resolves to refuse to grant a planning permit in respect of the land known and described as 34 Shepworth Avenue, Noble Park, for the purpose of the development of the land for 3 double-storey dwellings on the following grounds. Number 1, the proposal is considered to be an overdevelopment of the site. Number 2, the proposal will increase traffic congestion. And number 3, the proposal is considered to be inconsistent with neighbourhood character. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Sophie Tan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? No? Yes?
Raising an opposition of the alternate motion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. If we could ask Councillor O'Reilly, please, as the first speaker.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, as councillors, we all understand the need for housing across Melbourne and in our municipality, and residents are aware of this too. However, residents are rightfully concerned about how this development in particular would impact their daily lives. And while technically compliant in some respects, this proposal represents overdevelopment in what is termed an incremental change area under the Greater Dandenong Planning Scheme. Clause 2209 3.3 of the Greater Dandenong Planning Scheme outlines incremental change areas, and the situation of this particular development, potential traffic flow and other aspects we're saying is excessive. So we cannot, Mayor, as representatives of the community, overlook the potential issues with parking and traffic congestion, which will only worsen with more cars introduced onto a street that already struggles with on-street parking. I commend the objectors to this application who have provided coherent and detailed submissions that highlight their genuine concerns from their neighbourhood, and I congratulate them on coming forward and being reasonable and putting their concerns in both writing and contacting councillors, as every resident has the right to do if they are concerned about a development in their vicinity, Mayor. So for these reasons and the reasons stated in the alternate motion, I urge Council to reject this application, and let's ensure that development remains balanced and considerate of those who already call Greater Dandenong home. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Councillor Sophie Tan, as the second speaker, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I also like to echo Councillor Sean O'Reilly. We do acknowledge the need of housing, the growing of population in our city of Greater Dandenong, but we have to look further, especially in, mainly about planning permit. As you know, with this planning application in particular, it came to council previously, it was objected, refused, so this is second round. Mainly for the objection for this round is to do with the clause 22.9 again. So this is about residential development and neighbourhood character. As you know, that it doesn't respect the amenity of adjoining resident. As you look around on the report as well, it doesn't have any double story around the property around the street. Especially in City of Greater Dandenong Council, we never approve a dwelling 3 double story, 3 in a row. So normally we do approve only 2 double story and 1 rear story at the back. Plus the traffic as well. So we talk about parking. 2 bedroom, you get 1 parking lot. So this is on paper, but in reality, I'm not sure if you know, at the moment it's overload of parking issue in our Greater Dandenong. Not just this street, David Street, anywhere you go now, it's like congestion with parking both sides. So there's only one side for resident to drive through. So parking issue is also the reason of this congestion on the road. So that's why I'm posing this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Councillor Dan, first in opposition, please.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Councillors O'Reilly and Tan, for bringing up thoughtful comments on this. And also want to thank the local residents that have gotten in contact with me over the last few days. I always welcome discussion, even if we don't always agree on things. I'm opposing the alternate motion tonight and instead am more in favour of the original report that was outlined in the agenda tonight. I understand that this was previously refused by VCAT, and I think it's important to note that the issues raised by the tribunal, which had led to that original rejection, has now been addressed. This new application is compliant, to my understanding, with the relevant rules and regulations. Addressing important measures like adequate green space is addressed. in this updated application, and therefore I'm concerned that a rejection of the proposal tonight will expose council and residents and ratepayers alike to extra legal costs, especially as legal consideration of overdevelopment, which I acknowledge is one of the key concerns here, would not even be considered if this was to go to VCAT again. While I understand that incremental change can be interpreted in different ways, I believe this application does provide for this kind of development, allowing for medium density housing to be able to fit within the character of the neighbourhood. The location of the permit is in a great location. It's accessible to local shops and public transport. Noble Park's on the up, and I think this provides a really wonderful opportunity for new residents to move in to our fantastic community. So therefore, for these reasons, I will be opposing the alternate motion, and I would urge councillors to approve the original report that was outlined in the agenda tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. Anyone else that would like to speak for or against? Councillor Garrett?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to support the alternate on the grounds that it does fail the character test, and that the word incremental is very relevant here, because this is not incremental change. In fact, this represents a form of urban intensification, which is not at this stage relevant to this area. It is an excessive jump in the intensification of the developments in this area, and the residents that have opposed this are rightly concerned that the character of their neighbourhood will be excessively changed, which is not the meaning of the word incremental. And so for that reason, I will support the alternate tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Are there any other speakers that are for or against? Councillor Dark, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, listening to the debate being put forward, I was originally in one camp, and after listening to what Councillor Dan said, I actually agree with his sentiments and echoes, and upon reading what is before us tonight, I understand the application and the merit of what has happened. And Shepherd Avenue is by no question a very busy area. It is also very, very close to the railway line. The site in question, whilst it does come down to the bowl of a court, does back onto an aged care facility. So it does have a commercial interface to where it is as well. And I understand where people are coming from when it comes to the development and potential overdevelopment of an area. But looking through this application, having the 3 townhouses that are there, the applicant obviously has tried to take the matter to VCAT. The VCAT member refused it and backed the original council decision because it didn't meet the compliance requirements. The applicant from there has then since then gone back, revised the plans and permits to which it is basically compliant. To have 60% being by building size and 39.5% balance basically means they're meeting all of the objectives that are there. And I find it very, very, very hard, given the potential, say, of this council to then go and, if it is, say, resolved to refuse this application, to go to VCAT when something is fully compliant with our planning scheme and everything that seems to meet here. I would find that it's very, very, very hard and potentially wasting a lot of ratepayer money on legal fees for something that the case is not necessarily there. The landscaping and abuts to the side and to the rear have all been met. There's new landscaping plans that have been put in place to ensure that there is an interface where then you're not having a white, I suppose, concrete fronting face where it's very dry and very sterile as well. And certainly from what I can see, the applicant has done everything they possibly can to meet the criteria after having the refusal from VCAT. And if you do have the application refused by VCAT, and subsequent to that, everything that VCAT has refused it, you've then gone and met and revised to resubmit to council to make sure you're fully compliant, in my opinion, is grounds for an approval. And that is why I agree with what Councillor Dana is saying, and that's why I'll be voting against the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Councillor O'Reilly, your right of reply as the mover.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I take on board everything that's been said, Mayor, but while you can look at this as on a purely technical basis, Mayor, a large part of our role is as community representatives. We all know the likelihood of this application succeeding at VCAT, but we need to send a signal from this council that applications that may be seen as excessive and an overdevelopment will not just go through this council with zero friction. And for those reasons, Mayor, I think, as outlined in the alternate motion, on balance, with all the technical considerations, and keeping in mind that we are community representatives, I do not think it is a huge decision to support the surrounding residents in this case and take this on to potentially VCAT. So in summary, I hope that all councillors support the alternate motion. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. We'll just put that to a vote. So can I please have a show of hands, all of those that are in favour of the alternate motion, please? Councillor O'Reilly, Councillor Garrard, Councillor Tan, Councillor Long, Councillor Lim, Councillor Mehmeti. I missed anyone? And all those against, please. So Councillor Dan, Councillor Dark and Councillor Formoso. That alternate motion is carried. Thank you. Item 3, public question time. Question time at council meetings provides an opportunity for members of the public in the gallery to address questions to the councillors, delegates and or officers of the Greater Dandenong City Council. Questions must comply with S 4.5.8 of Council's governance rules. I will start with the first question, and Philip Lamaro has asked to ask this question in person. Is Philip here? No, I'll read it out. September last year, the Greater Dandenong Council and the Mayor both advised that during council meetings that to be asked to stand for the prayer and not to be asked to stand for an acknowledgement of country could be perceived as giving significance of one over the other. So council advised in the future both would be asked to stand as both deserve to be given the same respect. At council meeting dated Monday 26 August 2024, people were asked to stand for the prayer but not for the acknowledgement of the First Nations people. Has council changed their view on giving both the same respect by asking for attendees of council meeting to stand for both the acknowledgement of country to the traditional custodians of the land and for the prayer? If I could please ask the Executive Director of Corporate Development, Mr. Foley, to respond, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your question, Philip. Council's governance rules actually only require councillors to stand when speaking. And while councillors and attendees may be invited to stand for the acknowledgement of country or prayer, it's actually entirely up to each individual to decide if they choose to do so or not.
Thank you for that clarification. Second question is from Philip Lamaro. The Children's Court was built in Dandenong and opened over a year ago on Stud Road. Currently, temporary fencing has been placed around this site to protect the safety of the children attending the court. Earlier this year, Council advised the state government promised to build a pedestrian crossing at this site and install safety barriers. After a year, the temporary barriers are still in use. The temporary barriers do not give the same level of safety as the proposed fencing and walkway will do. So I would like to ask Council, as this is a safety issue concerning children and a risk of a child fatality on a busy road, can Council please give an update to the status of this, of when this will be installed to protect the children from risk or injury or fatality? And if I could please ask the Acting Executive Director of City Futures, Mr. Feist, to respond, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your question, Philip. The traffic signals on Foster Street outside the court will be delivered by Court Services Victoria, and we have been advised that they have been in ongoing discussions and design development with the Department of Transport and Planning, who manage the road at this location. So Council have not yet received an update on the project for several months, so we will seek a further update and provide that to yourself shortly.
Thank you for that. Our next question is from Susan Smith of Dandenong. Is Susan here to ask the question in person? Thank you. If you could just come up to the lectern. Welcome. Good evening.
Hello, everybody. Again. I've got 3 questions. I don't know if it matters about the order of them, does it?
Oh, that's fine.
That's all right?
Yep.
All right, then. All right, I'll start with the long one. Since I live in Cleland Ward, Dandenong, and I like to think the council is spending our money wisely, in the past few weeks, a street next to where I live, which is Gordon Court, which has maybe 20 homes, including units, was blocked off by several huge trucks, including a water truck. The cost of these trucks plus the manpower and water must be expensive, maybe in the thousands of dollars to hire, I would think. To my surprise, all they had to do was plant several gum trees along the nature strip, and presently there is a mature gum tree under a power line, and it's messy for whoever lives next to it, and maybe the root system and need for trimming could be expensive if growing more than 3 metres. I would have thought to plant those small trees could easily have been done by a couple of people using a utility. This is what the gardeners used recently that where I live at Valley Village Mews did, where I noticed the utility had about 12 young trees and they were about the same size as the others, and they were ready to plant there. And in 2012, due to huge gum trees planted along David Street at the time, going towards Estia Health, I tripped over, fracturing my arm as the roots had uplifted the pathway, and I was responsible for the medical treatment afterwards. As only certain types of trees near power lines are wise to plant and best no larger when mature than 3 metres, what is the name of the types of gum trees planted recently in Gooding Court, Dandenong? So I'll be able to find out myself whether they're specialty types for under power lines and not the types to become a problem due to their size and their need for expensive trimming of dangerous branches or likely to uproot the footpaths in future.
Thanks for your question, Susan. Sorry about your injury. That's sad to hear. If I could please ask the Acting Executive Director, City Futures, David Feist, to respond, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your question, Susan, and your inquiry. The recently planted trees within Gooding Court are coral gums, or the species name, and apologies if I get the pronunciation incorrect, but it's Eucalyptus torquata. So coral gums are suitable for small gardens and streetscapes, and they're small, compact, evergreen trees that are suitable for planting under power lines. In general, council plants the right tree in the right location, but in selecting suitable street tree species, there's many factors that are taken into consideration. So understanding the available space below and above ground, so when we talk about power lines, how tolerant they are to drought, compaction of the soil, pollution and waterlogging, so the trees can establish and grow without, and also if the trees can establish and grow without onerous maintenance requirements. This also extends to planting smaller species under power lines to negate the requirement for line clearance pruning. So the coral gums in Gooding Court will be under establishment maintenance for 2 years, and that'll include regular watering over the warmer months.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Feist.
Next.
Sure.
Right. One of the unanswered questions from the Dandenong Community Hub co-design workshops in February was whether the end-of-trip facilities, which were only proposed for staff, could be made accessible to ordinary residents. What is the current architect's view?
Thanks, Susan. We'll ask the Acting Executive Director, City Futures again, Mr. Feist, to respond, please.
Thank you for your question, Susan. As you may be aware, recently on the August 26th meeting, Council supported continued planning of the hub and with a commitment to continuing the co-design process and finalising that concept plan with the co-design workshops to recommence in February 2025. So all of the concept design details that still need to be refined will be explored and discussed during those co-design workshops in February. Thank you.
Thanks. Again.
Thank you, Mr. Feist.
Last question.
No worries, Susan. Thank you.
Recently, in driving around Cleland Ward, hang on, is this the right one? Yeah, sorry. Yep, okay, sorry. Recently, in driving around Cleland Ward, Dandenong, it has come to my attention that possibly immigrants who have vacated their apartments have been unaware, maybe due to lack of information on a regular basis being given to them in writing when moving into their places, that they can call a number to have, as I believe they're entitled to, of free hard rubbish removal so many times per year. So when they vacate, they can have what they don't want removed. So many places outside apartments all over the ward in Dandenong have just put things they no longer lead on the nature strip, and with heavy winds recently, some of the items have blown onto the footpath and roads, causing hazards to people walking or driving by. Also, it's unsightly and would put people wanting to move into a decent apartment off from moving into the ward. Many immigrants do not have vehicles suitable for moving their hard rubbish and may be struggling financially, unable to afford to have their hard rubbish removed when vacating their homes, and may not know it's illegal to dump your rubbish the way it's often left. It must eventually be costing the council more to have to remove the rubbish after it's sitting around for months. So, to educate the people in that ward, especially in the variety of languages necessary upon their moving into their apartments, could the council ensure that the landlords are given printouts to give the tenant with a phone number to have hard rubbish removal lined up when about to vacate, and the landlords be made responsible for hard rubbish removal legally and made to pay for it to be removed if a mess was left next to their property by their tenants?
Thanks, Susan. It's a very good question, and we'll ask the Acting Executive Director, City Futures, Mr Feist, to respond again, please.
Thank you again for your question, Susan. Waste and cleansing officers are actively monitoring and addressing the ongoing issue of illegal dumping of waste throughout the municipality. We are particularly aware that the multi-unit development sites are problematic with regards to dump rubbish due to our highly transient, or parts of our highly transient community. So Council currently has 2 dedicated property liaison officers who play a crucial role in trying to address this issue. So they maintain regular communication with owners, corporations and property managers and provide them with information as requested and distribute targeted educational materials regularly to address these issues. While education is important, we increasingly recognise that the behavioural changes are necessary as well, or the behavioural changes are required. So this includes encouraging residents, property managers and landlords to avoid dumping waste on nature strips, especially in those areas where there are high unit turnover. Waste and cleansing officers also collaborate closely with our local laws team to investigate illegal dumping incidents. However, without evidence where the waste has come from or who has dumped the waste, at times that enforcement can be challenging. But we are continuing to, through our property liaison officers, work at communicating with owners, corporations and property managers to distribute that information. Thank you.
Can I just ask you something then? Because there was about 30 places, like recently I've noticed, in driving around or whatever, that have got rubbish dumped. It looks like furniture, TV sets and stuff like that. So it looks like the people have moved out and just left it there. Wherever the address is of the stuff dumped, I think I heard on the phone when you ring up the council number that if you see rubbish that's been dumped, can you ring up and then somebody will come and get rid of it from the council? Because there's a lot of places that need a phone call.
Yeah, happy to take...
Snap, Send, Solve is fantastic, Susan. But Snap, Send, Solve is absolutely fantastic, and we all use that. We would highly encourage any of our residents that do see anything untoward and doesn't have a pink sticker to please do so.
So 30 places.
Mr Feist, if you wanted to add to that.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, absolutely. Snap, Send, Solve is great to report.
What's it called, sorry?
Snap, Send, Solve. So that's an application where you can report dump rubbish.
Do you have to take a picture of the rubbish?
Basically, it's an easy way just to make it convenient for people if they want to report that there's rubbish there, that they can. Council also has a hotspots program. So if there's areas where there's higher amounts of dump rubbish, we actually frequently go out and visit those particular areas to pick up any dump rubbish as well.
Alrighty,
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you.
We'll get one of our staff members to assist you in uploading that if you would like. Thank you for your questions.
Everybody.
Good night. Our next question for this evening comes from Tina Congus from Dandenong regarding Dandenong Community Hub. One of the unanswered questions from the last Dandenong Community Hub co-design workshops in February 2024 was the possibility of levelling the site to avoid the internal stairways at different levels and terrace steps into the building from the Stewart Street side. When will Dandenong residents find out the answers to that question? The other issue with the proposed terrace steps into Dandenong Community Hub building is if they are in part of the open space allocated to the hub. If these steps unfortunately persist, will they be included in the open space allocation for the hub, as these steps are not usable open space? If I could please ask the Acting Executive Director of City Futures, Mr Feist, to respond, please.
Thank you for your question, Tina. I recently talked to it from the question from Susan also. So recently this council committed to continuing the co-design process for the hub with further co-design workshops scheduled for February in 2025. So in terms of the design details associated with that design, we'll be exploring those through that co-design process in February. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Our next question is from Christian Abaka from Keysborough. Sporting facilities, my favourite topic. I'm the president of the Keysborough Soccer Club. We have close to 300 kids playing for our club. So are connected to almost 1,000 CGD residents when including parents and siblings of our players. We have heard a lot of talk lately about the proposed South East Sports Hub, and we want to say that we are a big supporter of the project. We understand there is still doubt as to whether or not the SESH will be built. But what is not in doubt is that our club, like many other sporting clubs in the city of Greater Dandenong, are struggling to cater for the amount of kids that want to play because we simply do not have access to enough grounds. What other plans do council currently have to build more sporting facilities in the municipality? Because we can't afford to turn away kids that want to play sports. If I could please ask the Executive Director of Community Strengthening, Ms Gillies, to respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and many thanks, Christiane, for your question. Council continually commits significant resources for sporting infrastructure across the City of Greater Dandenong. We fully acknowledge the success of the Keysborough Soccer Club. The Keysborough Soccer Club has worked with Council. There's been a significant investment in capital in the reserve in recent times to support the growth. This includes installation of new lighting for 3 soccer fields and future planned subsurface drainage works to increase opportunities for participation. Council have also invested in infrastructure improvement for soccer in recent years, such as the new synthetic soccer field at Ross Reserve, upgrading the lighting on the East Oval at Thomas Carroll Reserve, and upgrading lighting at Frederick Wachter Reserve. Council officers will continue to work with all clubs and Football Victoria to discuss the growth and ongoing infrastructure needs of soccer, as well as other codes with other peak bodies. Officers will reach out to the clubs shortly to discuss any concerns. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Ms Gillies. Our next question is from Scott Peters from Dandenong, electronic car charging stations. I've noticed Dandenong CBD have no public electronic car charging stations, unlike most other areas. Can Council explain why no public electronic car charging stations are in central Dandenong, and when and where do Council plan to install them? If I could please ask the Acting Executive Director of City Futures, Mr Feist, to respond, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your question, Scott. Council updated its electric vehicle charging policy back in 2022, and the aim of the policy was to make it as attractive as possible for electric vehicle charging providers to install within public spaces in Greater Dandenong. It allows us to offer parking spaces. It allows us to offer providers parking spaces free of charge and potentially subsidise power in some instances. Since that policy was updated in 2022, Council officers have been in discussion with electric vehicle charging providers for the anticipated third-party delivery of electric vehicle charging infrastructure within Greater Dandenong, anticipated within the next 12 to 24 months. The exact locations will be driven by suppliers, market demand, and with Council guidance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Feist. Our next question is from Ros Blades from Noble Park. Good evening, Ros, if you're watching. Car parking, Noble Park. Would the Council Regulatory Services staff please monitor the daily chaos at pickup times in Arena Square, Noble Park and Wallarano Drive, Noble Park, also known as the Wallarano Primary School Street Car Park? Could you also work with the Wallarano Primary School so that they can advise parents in their newsletter that they can park in the Noble Park Football Club and they can walk safely from Mudamere Street, Noble Park, behind the car parking area and straight into the school instead of in front of the cars? At pickup time, cars are parked in front of no standing signs on both sides of the road, preventing cars from reversing out safely. Additional to which, there are cars parked behind the already parked cars. As a result of this, traffic cannot move and is unable to turn from Wallarano Drive into Arena Square. Yesterday, there were cars parked, I'm presuming Friday. Yesterday, there were cars parked outside, no standing signs, both sides of the road and over driveways. Would you be good enough to look at this very unsafe situation for children? If I could please ask Executive Director of Community Strengthening, Ms Gillies, to respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you very much, Ros, for expressing your concerns. Please be assured that our parking and local laws compliance team takes safety around schools very seriously. Wallarano is indeed a very well-known area of concern regarding parking behaviour, and our teams make a concerted effort to attend this location frequently. Additionally, I can confirm our Crossing Program Officer has already been in touch with the school and recommended that a reminder about parking behaviour be included in the next newsletter. We'll continue to have these conversations with the school and monitor the area to ensure safety for all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Ms Gillies. Our next question is from Gay Guest of Keysborough. Tree removal. These are recent statements from Council around our very high-value trees. Greater Dandenong currently has a low level of canopy coverage, which when combined with its socio-economically disadvantaged community, creates high levels of climate risk. The proposed site contains over 100 large trees that are identified as being of very high value, and given the large urban renewal nature of the site, it has the opportunity to protect many of these significant trees. The Council also called for mandatory tree canopy benchmarks for developments. Currently, tree canopy is taking too long to grow and or struggles to establish. The previous figure of 30% canopy coverage for the southern region is not aspirational, and a target date of 2050 is too late. Why, when we have lost so many trees in this windstorm event last week, on 9 healthy lemon-scented gums that are only 9 years old, circa 2015, tagged to be removed because they were planted under power lines, when we know this species grows taller than that, and the trees at 51A Douglas Street not being saved, as they are also very high-valued heritage specimens and easily fall into these statements. The cost to the ratepayers to remove the 9 trees in Memorial Drive is devastating, and the Council need to decide on better tree selection so this error can never happen again. The older the tree, the cheaper it is to maintain once it establishes, offering environmental benefits and tree canopy coverage. When will they be unceremoniously removed and replaced? If I could please ask Mr Feist to respond, please.
Through the Mayor, and thank you for your question, Gay. The 9 lemon-scented gums located in Ross Reserve, adjacent to the skate park, will be removed within the next 20 working days. The trees have been identified for removal as we cannot continue to prune them safely and maintain the required clearances from high voltage overhead power lines, as Council is required to do so under legislation. Council has inherited many trees across the municipality, some of which are inappropriate species or inappropriate for the location. In general, Council plants the right tree in the right location. In selecting suitable tree species, many factors are taken into consideration, including the available space, what's above and below ground, drought, compaction, pollution, waterlogging, and understanding the tree's ability to establish and grow without onerous maintenance requirements, as previously mentioned. This also extends to planting smaller species under power lines to negate the requirement for line clearance pruning. Council will investigate opportunities for offset planting within the precinct and surrounding neighbourhood with a view for further plantings in 2025.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Silvia Mastro Giovanni from Dandenong. Dandenong Community Hub. When will the Dandenong Community Hub project page be updated with information on the project next steps decided at the council meeting on Monday 26th of August 2024? Also, can it be updated with the latest version of the Dandenong Community Hub co-design that participants saw at the co-design workshop number 2, along with a summed table of the different amounts of space allocated to different uses, i.e. how many square metres are there of early years space, bookable meeting space, cafe space, maker space, community lounge space, etc. As Dandenong has many new arrivals that value unbookable free space, the size of the community lounge is particularly important. If I could please ask Mr Feist to respond, please.
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for your question, Sylvia. Council will update its website as soon as possible, so thank you for raising that to our attention, with the information and next steps from that council meeting on the 26th of August. So we'll be getting onto that right away. In terms of the co-design workshops, they will recommence from February 2025. So any of the concept design details will be explored and discussed in these co-design workshops. Once the concept design is finalised and endorsed by the council, those plans will then be made available on the council's website.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Kim Handley from Clyde. Dandenong Basketball Stadium. Upon attending the Dandenong Basketball Stadium Friday night, I noticed a car parking shortage with approximately over 50 vehicles illegally parking on parklands and along Stud Road. Apparently this happens multiple times during the week due to the dramatic shortage of car parks. Is council going to add more car spaces, and as this happens repeatedly, does council monitor the issue and give fines to all the illegally parked cars? If I could ask Ms Gillies to respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thanks very much, Kim, for your question. The Dandenong Basketball Stadium is situated on a floodplain which restricts our ability to construct additional parking without approval from Melbourne Water. However, please be assured that Council's parking team actively monitors this area. They issue fines to vehicles that are parking illegally. We are committed to ensuring parking regulations are enforced to maintain safety and order in the area. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Ms Gillies. Next question comes from Ross Sutherland from Keysborough Urban Growth Boundary. The Keysborough Golf Club has been trying to relocate to a new site in Bangholme for many years. This move will safeguard the club's future and create a new state-of-the-art course with gender equitable and youth facilities. There's been a lot of commentary about this issue in recent times. It is my understanding that this council has been a supporter of the club's rezoning and relocation push for almost 2 decades. Can I please confirm that this is true, that the council has publicly and privately backed the Keysborough Golf Club's push to relocate the urban growth boundary to include the current course in a general residential zone, because I'm concerned for the club's long-term viability if the move does not proceed? If I could please ask Mr Feist to respond, please.
Through the Mayor, and thank you for your question, Ross. The Keysborough Golf Club first approached Council back in 2004, seeking support to include its site in the urban growth boundary and to relocate the golf course elsewhere. In 2004, 2012 and 2015, Council resolved to advocate to the state government for the realignment of the urban growth boundary to include the part or all of the Keysborough Golf Club within it through the relevant planning processes that were occurring at the time. The state government has not acted on this advocacy to date, and Council has made no further decisions regarding the golf course since 2015. It is also important to note that while Council has made resolutions regarding the existing golf club, it has not made any resolutions for the location or land for a South East Sports Hub, and will not do so until a formal application is received and assessed by Council.
Great, thank you. Our last question for the evening is from Matthew Kerwin from Noble Park. Railway Parade, Noble Park. It is great that the traffic calming project is starting on Railway Parade, Noble Park, starting with the new Liege Avenue Railway Parade intersection. A, can information about the project be put on the Greater Dandenong website so there is information about the full scope of works and where all the new raised platforms will be located? B, is the new raised Liege Avenue Railway Parade intersection going to be covered with red material as per similar raised platforms in Liege Avenue and other locations in Greater Dandenong? Currently, drivers can't see the raised platform until they get close because it is not visually distinct. C, are new giveaway road markings going to be painted on at Liege Avenue Railway Parade intersection if entering the intersection from Liege Avenue I? It's now unclear where to stop and give way. So if I could please ask once again, Mr. Feist to respond, please.
Through the Mayor, and thank you for your question, Matthew. There is a project page on Council's website for this Black Spot project, and this page details the location of all the treatments, and a link can be provided to you directly. In terms of the design and the questions you have, the raised platform at the intersection with Liege Avenue will include, or I can confirm that it will include, a red surface treatment to improve the visibility of the hump. New giveaway line marking and signage will also be installed at the intersection. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4, Officers' Reports Part 2, 4.1 Contracts, 4.1.1 Contract Number 2324 to 25 CCTV, Inspections and Cleaning of Stormwater Pipes, Pits, Gross Pollution Traps, GPTs and associated maintenance works. If I could have a move up, please.
Happy to move, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Dan.
Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett as seconder. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? That item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.1.2, Building Maintenance Service Contract Extension. Could I please have a mover?
Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Seconder? Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly? Yep. Stretching or seconding? I'm just being funny. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition?
May I just wish to record an abstention on this?
Abstention? Did he say? Yep, abstention. Thanks, Councillor Dark. Any other questions? Any opposition? That item is carried, and Councillor Dark, your abstention is noted. Item 4.1.3, Legal Services Panel Contract Extension. Can I have a mover, please?
Happy to move, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. Any seconders, please?
Councillor Garrett.
Seconder, Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.2 Other, 4.2.1 Response to Notice of Motion number 36, Enhancing Disability Access. Could I have a mover, please?
Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Seconder?
Happy to second it. Councillor Tan.
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Are there any questions? Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My questions relate to the costs that have been included, and well done to the officers for the audit they have undertaken. The costs, without including the extreme costs, are around $4.5 million. There is some indication that they will be included in the following year budget. However, that is not going to in any way cover the $4.5 million. My question is, are you seeking funds from any other source? And the catastrophic category, which we haven't funded, what is to happen to those that are so bad they're being demolished and therefore there will be no toilets there? What is the strategy regarding those?
Thanks, Councillor Garrett. I think we'll ask Ms Hujari to respond if she could, please. Thank you.
To you, Mayor, and thanks for your question. The plan in terms of the priorities, as you see the list, we will go through a few consultations and also looking at the project. As mentioned in the report, some of them trigger like the bigger building projects, so we are going through that. In terms of the funding, we will look at the ones that we can fund through the capital project, but of course we look at the ones that we can include in terms of our advocacy project and in terms of the project of some of them might be part of the bigger project or the bigger advocacy priorities that we are doing. And it's a good timing because, as you know, we are going through identifying the priorities for the project in line with our council plan. So we, of course, look at some of them for the broader funding through that. But this is a kind of the case by case we have to look, as mentioned, and we are ready for this coming capital project. Some of them has been included, and we are again looking at that for the future capital project whenever we can include that, and other sources, of course, we can consider.
Thanks, Ms. Hajari. Further question, Councillor Garrett?
Yes, I have a further question. Does the council think it's adequate still that we only actually have 3 accessible toilets in total on the national toilet map, and that most of the toilets that are listed in this audit are in fact not accessible? They are either private or belong to a club or the train station and so on, are in fact not accessible for people who are in wheelchairs or in needing of train stations. So does the council think it is adequate that there are in fact only 3 in the total of the city of Dandenong that are fully accessible for persons with disabilities?
Thanks, Councillor Garrett. We'll ask Ms. Hajari if she could respond, please.
To you, Mayor. Thank you. Just a clarification on that, Councillor Garrett. In terms of the ones, the 3 ones that they are in the website, they are the changing places, which they have, as identified in the report, there are definitions for these toilets. So the changing places are the ones that is larger, which not just for the people with different needs, but also for the carer, which our benchmark actually shows that the City of Greater Dandenong has exceed the number in terms of the ratio of the people in terms of the changing places. The ones that they are in the national, which now we updated our website with indicating our accessible ones, and all of the list in terms of the public access, they can be accessible to the public. We categorize the ones that they are like in maternal child health, or the ones that might be particular for the users. But for the community centers, for the train stations, they're all considered as the public toilet. So it's a kind of I acknowledge might be a bit confusing, but these ones, the 3 ones are the changing places, which is a specific requirement when actually the number that we have in the City of Greater Dandenong in the benchmark, it is greater than the other municipalities in terms of the ratio.
Just a follow-up question, Madam Mayor. The 3 changing places that you discuss are, in fact, one is in the council, which I don't think is terribly accessible. The other one is in a playground, which is quite a long way from the City of Greater Dandenong, and the other one is in Springvale. So for carers of persons with a disability, these are very few and very sparse. So my question again is this enough, or should we, as the greater City of Dandenong, be looking at having a adequate number of fully accessible and changing places, given that we have a large percentage of persons with disabilities in the City of Greater Dandenong who pre-plan according to the information they're able to access, and if they cannot access toilets, they will not leave their home. So just my question back to you is this adequate, or do we aspire to doing better than this?
Thanks, Councillor Garrett. Ms. Hajari.
I'm happy to answer, but I think Mr. Faiz may wanted to add a few things to that. But I'm happy to, in terms of the benchmarking, Councillor Garrett, if it's fair or not, it's I think our role when identifying any facilities, including like all of the social infrastructure, community infrastructure, we look at the distribution and we look at the number and benchmarking. I think your concern is valid in terms of the distribution of that. At the moment, as I mentioned, from what we see and what we benchmark with the other municipalities, particularly for the changing places, we are exceeding in terms of the number. If it's the right distribution across the municipality, is something that we can look at further. And then if we can do anything further on that. But in terms of the adequacy, in terms of the number, our stats and evidence shows that we are in the right number for the population that we serve. But I don't know if Mr. Vice, you wanted to add anything.
Thank you. Mr. Feist, if you wanted to add something or take that on notice.
Through me, I'll just note with the changing places toilets, regardless of location, changing places toilets require an MLAC key to access them. And that's just to make sure that those facilities are used by those people in need and who do require those facilities. So those keys are available from council, regardless of location, to be able to access those toilets. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Councillor Garrett? Yep. Any further questions? Any opposition? That item is carried. Thank you, everyone. Item 4.2.2, a list of registered correspondence to Mayor Councillors. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Mametti. Seconder, please.
Happy to second, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Are there any questions? Any opposition? That item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.2.3, draft minutes of Springvale Community Hub Committee meeting, 6th of June 2024. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Councillor Lim.
Councillor Garrett.
Councillor Garrett as a seconder. Thank you. Any questions? Any opposition? That item is carried. Thank you. Item 5, notices of motion. No notices of motion this evening. Fantastic. Item 6, reports from councillors, delegated members and councillor questions. If I could start with you, Councillor Dark, please. Sure. We'll go with you, Councillor Dern. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Just a quick one from me tonight. Just firstly, I want to congratulate Noble Park United in my ward on their promotion this season. I know the folks at Drina worked really hard throughout the year, especially all the volunteers to get that club running, organising training sessions and everything else that you could possibly think of. So I'm really happy for them, and big congratulations to everyone involved. Just one question tonight for the relevant officer. What are the rules around abandoned vehicles in residential streets? In the interests of privacy, I'm happy to provide the location after this meeting, but there's just been one instance of an abandoned vehicle that's been around for about 6 or so months in a residential neighbourhood, and that started to attract some antisocial behaviour around there. Particularly the windows are down, and it's been copping all sorts of weather damage as well. Just wanted to ask that and find out what the process is there.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Dan. We'll ask Ms Gillies to respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thanks so much, Councillor Dan. Absolutely. If you could provide us with the location of the vehicle. We have a very active role and program around abandoned vehicles, and we have staff as part of their or officers as part of their standard rosters out viewing, infringing and moving on those vehicles as appropriate. So if you could send that information through, I'd be happy to follow that up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that was all. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Dan. Councillor O'Reilly, please.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of events I'll mention. A community conversation, Springvale Revitalisation Action Plan was August the 28th at the Springvale City Hall Supper Room. Also with me was Deputy Mayor Lim. Thank the officers for their support with arranging this meeting. It's always good to listen to residents firsthand about what their concerns are, and I believe it was a productive meeting, Mayor. Also attended the 2024 Moon Festival and 75th anniversary of the Chinese National Day celebration, and I think the title is even longer because there were several other groups as part of the federation, and that was last night with Deputy Mayor Lim and your good self. That was an enjoyable night to see all the different. They had different cultural presentations and just to catch up with people generally. So I attended other events, but they're the two I want to highlight. Nextly, congratulate yourself on your term, Mayor. Been a challenging year. Residents are maybe a bit grumpy because of cost of living, which is not totally within council's control. Difficult to meet residents' expectations sometimes, but I believe you've acquitted your role well, and I hope that you have a well-earned rest after your mayoral term finishes. And moving on to questions, Mayor, got a question without notice to the Manager of Strategic Growth and Advocacy, and it's about the council advocacy priorities in state and federal budgets, which we're currently reviewing for the forthcoming financial year. And I just thought I'd give some feedback, given that having a number of conversations with people around the community, I just thought there was one issue that was missing that I think that people out there really find important. And the issue I wish to raise, Mayor, is to do with police numbers in Greater Dandenong. Now, I commend the efforts of our police officers who do their best under difficult circumstances. However, based on conversations with local residents and traders, it's evident to me, and I believe to them, that the current number of police we have in our municipality is insufficient, and this has impacted response times and the overall quality of policing, because as we all know, if you've only got a limited number of people to do the job and many calls coming in, then naturally it's quite difficult and the quality of response does suffer. So just out there, Mayor, just examples. I mean, a trader in Springvale told me that an incident was reported where men had entered their shop with machetes. They contacted the police and the police said, we'll be there in 3 hours. I myself, Mayor, went out in central Springvale, witnessed a fist fight basically 20 metres away in central Springvale. Another example is a resident who lives near me, John, who I was speaking to today and was talking about repeated, ongoing hoon driving and excessively noisy vehicles. And this resident, John, has reported this to MPs, to ministers, and you can tell when you speak to him that he's not shy in reporting these things, Mayor. And he has absolutely, at his wit's end on getting a response to this. And I believe, in summary, the key thing that this council should be advocating for to both the Victorian and the federal government, although as we know it's primarily a Victorian government responsibility, is police resourcing in our municipality. The other things we have in our advocacy document are important, but speaking to people out on the street, this is what they want. This is what they're telling me. So my question is, could we consider advocating for the allocation of more police resources to address the safety concerns in residential areas? Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor O'Reilly. I'd like to say a few things to that, if I could. Firstly, I hope that you did mention that at the police forum that you attended last week, the one that was at Springvale Hub.
Yeah, that was a safety forum, the police weren't
No
there.
VicPol representatives, okay.
Correct.
So firstly, I would like to say that I would be more than happy to write a letter to VicPol, and if Ms Gillies would like to speak further to that, then absolutely she can respond. But what I'd like to say is that in response to your concerns, and we do know that this is an issue across the state, not just Springvale, not just City of Greater Dandenong, I would actually like to commend VicPol because, interestingly enough, a few nights ago, and I won't go into detail due to privacy issues, but there was a 5-year-old girl that went missing in Dandenong North. She was missing for over 2 hours. Police and family were frantically looking for her, and I happened to find her. And I had VicPol in attendance within 6 minutes. Once they arrived, they were able to reconnect that child with their parents within, I'd say, 18 minutes. So I would like to actually commend VicPol and the incredible work that they do, and I do appreciate and understand where you're coming from, but I also want to highlight some of the incredible work that they're doing in our community. And I wanted to thank them deeply for that incident, because as a parent, that was extremely distressing, and it was really comforting to have VicPol in attendance and to reunite that child with their family. But I will ask Ms Gillies to respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much, Councillor O'Reilly. Certainly safety is an absolute priority for our community, and it's loud and clear. There's no debate around that. We do work very closely with Victoria Police. In a recent meeting that officers held with the senior leadership of VicPol in this municipality, they are really pleased to confirm that they've managed to fill some long-term vacancies that have been in the municipality for quite some time. In addition to what Mayor Lana just mentioned, it is a Victorian statewide issue, and what we do know is it's not necessarily about the allocations not being there, it's about VicPol vacancies in terms of their overall staffing. So there are certainly allocations. I'm really pleased to report very soon Springvale is about to relaunch its neighbourhood policing program, which involves 4 dedicated officers out on the streets trying to rebuild some perceptions of safety, and helping the community feel a lot safer. So that's very positive. And just last week, actually, at our councillor briefing session, which we'll be sharing more at council soon, we did present on council's new community safety framework, which really talks to a joint effort with all providers, including local council, taking a role in how we support safety and improving perceptions of safety as well within our community. So I don't know as well if you wanted to add anything in terms of advocacy.
Thanks,
Through you, Mayor.
Thanks, Ms Gillies. Thanks, Mr Jarry.
And thank you, and thanks for the question. As Ms Gillies mentioned, this safety is one of our priorities, and through the council plan engagement that we did this year, in the safety came up as a big priority. So I assure you that as part of our advocacy priorities and the action plans, we definitely include the safety. Increasing the number of the work, like the police forces, might be one, which I know the committee is strengthening, is clearly work on that, but we also look at the other aspects and the other actions that we can include. In terms of the upcoming state and federal budget, we can look at that, but as you know, it's a tight time frame, plus this probably would be better to look at it as part of the broader advocacy with the looking at the different avenues rather than just probably we would be more successful to look at it more comprehensively with the work of the committee strengthening through different avenues and the other things like the safety framework that we are looking at that. So happy to have further conversation with you, Councillor O'Reilly, if you have a particular kind of the request on that, but I think probably not the best place for this coming budget conversation, but definitely one of the biggest priorities as we go through our next step of the advocacies.
Thank you to you both. Thank you. Yes, Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Just on that. So, firstly, I commend the police as well. Extremely difficult job, Mayor. What I'm arguing for is more police. I'm not saying that the police that are there are in any way inadequate, quite the contrary, that they do an extremely difficult job under trying circumstances, and even more so, Mayor, when they do have, as the Director mentioned, as they are missing people, and we've heard that the police say, well, it's hard to get recruits, and we've heard that for a while, and I think that's been reported in sort of mainstream media as well. But I mean, this has to be resolved. We can't just continually say, well, it's hard to get police recruits. Like, is it to do with hours? Is it to do with their salary? I mean, that's a question for the Victorian government, right, to address. But in terms of our advocacy, I am now asking the advice from the directors on how this is progressed, because the response I heard was that we might consider it for a future year or something like that. And I think councillors around and others around this chamber, as they're speaking to more and more people, would be picking up on the fact that getting more and more of concerns about community safety and police response. And I believe, might sound over simple, Mayor, that, you know, when we've got a whole lot of different frameworks and strategies, might be too simple an idea, but I believe that we need more police. And when we have more police, they can respond quicker, and they can have the time to provide a better response. So, Mayor, I want it on the record that this, in my opinion, and I want this progressed, should be a top priority of our advocacy to the Victorian government before we advocate for a lot of other things. So I'll leave it there, Mayor.
Sure.
But I just want that on the record. Thank you.
No worries, Councillor Riley. What we will do is I'll work with Ms Hajari, and we'll definitely compose a letter together and send that to VicPol. And hey, if neither of us continue our careers in council, local government, let's join the VicPol. Yeah, yep, let's do it. I'm holding you to that. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, I'd just like to follow up on a response that was given earlier regarding electric vehicles. And as you are no doubt aware, our emergency strategy says that we will increase the uptake of electric vehicles in the City of Greater Dandenong. And in fact, we have the highest number of registrations each year of electric vehicles in the City of Greater Dandenong. We do, because we have a factory just over there. Unfortunately, we have one charger, that is a non-Tesla charger, in the City of Greater Dandenong, and I know because that's the only charger I can use, and that creates an enormous charger stress and range stress. And we know that from the figures that have been tallied, that the economic benefits of having chargers right in the middle of your city are very lucrative, because people need to leave their cars there for a number of hours, and they will spend and eat and visit our city. And so it is not only is it good for the planet, but it's also good for the economy. So would the officer agree that our strategy, which is now will be 4 years into that strategy by the time we get one charger by the sound of it, would the officer agree that our strategy in fact has not worked? That our strategy of create a policy and private enterprise will rush at it, when in fact we only have one, and it's actually in an Ampol station. So it's not anywhere near the centre of the City of Greater Dandenong. Would the officer agree that that strategy has in fact not worked?
Mr. Feiss, if you would like to respond or take that on notice.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you. No,
data.
happy to respond. It was touched on in the public questions earlier this evening. Look, I don't think that the vehicle charging policy has not worked. Some time has passed since it was developed in 2022. And since then, Council has been working with private industry to understand the best way in terms of implementing not just one charger, but a rollout across the municipality. So can I appreciate the frustration around wanting to see some of those chargers sooner. And there are benefits that it does provide for the broader community. And happy to see that it is progressing, that we will see, or we are expecting to see a rollout of third-party chargers over the next 12 to 24 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Price.
you. You're a more patient person than I am. My next question is regarding the pleasing information that we received that the transfer station that was inappropriately an application was put in that was inappropriate in 576 Frankston Dandenong Road, which is the Green Wedge agricultural lungs of Melbourne area. And this proposal was going to put the most toxic substances in this greenfield state. So it's very pleasing to hear that the council has refused that application, and in fact emphatically refused it with 19 areas of failure where the application was refused. But my other question is, this site continues to be problematic. It continues to have found that toxic waste is being continued to be dumped there, and that we have, as recently as 2 weeks ago, more photos that more toxic waste has been dumped. We have an independent report to say that there is high level of toxic waste, including heavy metals. Unfortunately, the EPA have found there is only low-level contamination, which we find extremely surprising, given that the independent report emphatically showed there was extensive and high-level toxic dumping there. So my question is, where is the EPA report? Where was their testing done? And why is this operator allowed to continue to dump in this site, given the EPA have said that they have to remediate the site and remove the toxic waste, and yet we see that this operator has had no interruption to their permit, and there is no monitoring or assessment process to see what that operator is putting in. So despite 2 reports showing that they are continuing to dump toxic waste right next to 600 older residents and to a waterway, nothing has been done to stop this operator continuing. Why is that allowed?
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. We'll ask Mr. Manivasa Gasavam to respond, please.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. This is an ongoing investigation through EPA, and EPA identified and they have instructed the business owners to remove some of the salts, and it's already commenced. And so it's an EPA's responsibility. We are closely working with them to resolve that. And for the council, any breach on planning matters, we'll take action on that one. So it's an ongoing investigation at this stage.
Thank you.
So can you confirm that there is a monitoring process of what they are putting in there at this moment? There is an adequate monitoring process?
Yes, that's correct. So EPA's got the adequate monitoring policies there, and they are ongoingly monitoring that process.
Okay, thank you. My final question is regarding the infamous Keysborough South levy, the levy that a certain portion of residents, 5,000 dwellings, pay for the upkeep of 15% extra green space in the Keysborough South ward, which is a unique user pay system in our city of Greater Dandenong. The questions that I have received from many residents is, Why will the council not provide detailed maps of where that 15% is? Because the information we have been provided with shows that the football fields, the soccer fields and the regional park have been included in that 15%, and yet they are not accessible to the residents in those wards. Those grounds are used by clubs, and residents are not allowed to use them, and in fact fees are gathered which would pay for the upkeep. So why are some residents, so only a portion of residents, paying for the upkeep of sporting fields and a regional park, which is the responsibility of the council, and also retarding basins such as Pencil Park? Why are some residents being forced to pay for those that should be council's responsibility, and why will the council not give detailed maps to show where this 15% extra is, and in fact, is it still there, given that the community hub and other structures have been taking over the green space? So there are many, many unanswered questions, but the primary one is, when will the council provide a detailed map showing where that 15% extra space is?
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. We'll ask Mr. Manivasa Gasavan to respond, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So council officers are working on a detailed plan, and we are happy to provide that when that's ready. And it's already been provided, but we are happy to clarify any other questions. And send that to us. We'll provide a written response to those residents.
Thank you.
Sorry, just a point of clarification. So, sorry, you've said there has been a map sent out, or there's a map in development? Because the map that's been sent out is simply the whole of Keysborough South, with houses and all. So there is no detail in that map. So are you saying another one is being developed?
Yes, we are working on a detailed map on that here.
Okay. And so when can we expect that the residents will get access to that detailed map?
That's been developed. I don't have a time frame for that, but as soon as that available, we are happy to provide that on our website here.
Just my on the levy is, will the council implement a reporting process back to those 5,000 dwellings that pay for all of the upkeep of the green space in Keysborough South? Will the council provide annual reports back to those residents to account for the spend of the $1.8 million that is collected?
Thank you. Mr. Manivasa Gasavan, please.
Thanks you for the question. Happy to take that on notice.
Thank you.
My last point, Madam Mayor, is to thank all the councillors. Happy last meeting day. We've made it 4 years. We've all grown a little bit older. Well, some of us aged at a greater rate. But we've survived it 4 years of our lives, every Monday night, every weekend of our 4 years that we have made it through. And so congratulations just for surviving it. And here we go into caretaker mode.
Thank you. Councillor Tan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So firstly, I would like to congratulate Councillor Angela Long for 25 years anniversary. So it's a long milestone. Congratulations. And congratulations to our Mayor on your term. You've done a great job. Should be proud of yourself. Thanks. Firstly, I would like to just ask a few questions, just follow-up question first. Is that okay? Through you, Mayor, through the relevant officer. So this one, just a follow-up question from our resident. First issue regarding to a drainage. I believe I did send it through at Taran Tow Drive, Noble Park. So obviously to do with firstly the fix of the footpaths, and then of course with the drainage issue. It's been waiting for a few weeks already, so I just want to find an update on this. If you have any follow-up update on this issue, thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Tan. If we could ask Mr. Feist to respond, please, or take that on notice if need be with the details.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, if you can send through the details, we'll be happy to investigate it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And second issue regarding to, again, about the parking issue in Noble Park Activity Centre, so mainly around, this is behind Leonard Avenue, the Sunstar, Bread hot bread kitchen. So behind there's a land which is owned by council. It's a block of land. Issue with the delivery truck that doesn't have any drop-off parking. So they usually park at the back of our land, which is usually they get fined 3, 4, or 5 times a month. And now it's made like a big pothole. So now it's turned to be like an issue with the flood at the back as well. So we just caused one of the residents to be, fell over last week, I believe, 2 weeks ago. So I did send through a request if you can have a look. What's an update on this issue? Thanks.
Thank you. We'll ask Ms Gillies to respond if she could, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, absolutely, Councillor Tan. If you could send that through to me, we'll follow it up. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a quick report from the last few weeks. So I had a chance this is the last session we did attend the citizenship. So I just want to congratulate to all our citizens. We did had around over 150 citizens who became citizens in Greater Dandenong. It's the most multicultural city in Australia, so welcome everyone. And so last meeting, I just want to congratulate everyone and thanks all the officers. We've been through a lot since 2020 to 2024. COVID started, obviously, so 2 years affected by COVID. I also just want to congratulate the first mayor as well, Angela Long, and myself as the first deputy mayor. We didn't have to do much because of COVID during that time. But I just want to thank all the stuff that we did together. We did achieve a lot, and not just in Noble Park, mainly Noble Park, Keys Road, but other wards as well. So especially with the Noble Park Revitalisation Board, we did have a lot of support from state government. So we did, in total projects we've got from them, I think over almost 2 million from the state government. So I just want to say thank you to the Noble Park Revitalisation Board. The board doesn't exist anymore, but we do still want to work with them with any local projects. So congratulate to everyone who's involved. And in our municipality, we did have a lot of projects completed since 2020, which I'm so proud of to everyone. So I just want to highlight and say a few things. So firstly, it's the Black Spot program. We did get a lot of funding from the federal government, so that's on Bloomfield, Kingsclear Avenue, Yarraman Road, Railway Parade, Noble Park. So we spent a lot on that for install raised platform, safety platform. We do have a new traffic, which is on Harrow and Corrigan Road. That's in Noble Park traffic signal. So to reduce the accident during peak hours as well. So which is a great traffic along Corrigan Road. We've got Federal Water Reserve new playground. So that's part of the last term that we did. With yourself, Councillor Dark, and previous former multi-member wards for a paperbark ward as well. So a great project. So that's a great playground for our residents. Activity centre revitalisation. So for Noble Park, we've done our Noble Park Aquatic Centre, Health and Wellbeing Gymnasium. So it's been about 6.9 million on that project, which is great area for our residents to be healthy. And we do have our Make Your Move campaign for our council. We've got a lot of stuff happening in Noble Park. So Streetscape, which is Douglas Street and Leonard Avenue. So a lot of stuff happening, and the main thing that we just opened recently, which is the Sport Pavilion, Ross Reserve. We've got all ability playgrounds, toilet facility, synthetic soccer pitch. We've got athletic track, reconstruction, many new open space in Noble Park as well, and upgrade park and reserve and local roads. So all these works that we've done in the last 4 years, I just want to say congratulate and thank you to all the officer, directors. We got new CEO as well on board. So thank you to everyone who've done a great job. Thank you. And good luck to everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Long. Councillor Mametti, please.
Thank you, Mayor. My first question is regarding car parks. We have a resident actually in the chambers tonight. Metro Village, he actually parks his car about 50 metres away from where he lives. As we know, Metro Village has now got high-rise apartments, a lot of units on one block. This council hasn't entertained the idea of having permit car parking. If you go to other cities like South Melbourne, St Kilda and areas like that, you'll see signs, only cars that have got parking permits are allowed to park on some sides of the street. I think council needs to really have a good look at this. In the past, we never really had to, but areas that are now becoming like Metro Village, council needs to have a look, because it's not fair to the residents who have to park their cars 50 metres or 100 metres away from where they live. So can council officers please investigate and have a look at that area especially, and then maybe have a look at other areas as well in the city of Greater Dandenong.
Thanks, Councillor Mehmeti. We'll just ask Mr Manivasa Gasalam to have a look at that one.
Yes, thank you for that question. We are happy to have a look at that and investigate possible options for that. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sure our resident heard that, and hopefully we'll have an answer sooner than later regarding permit parking in that area. Madam Mayor, reading the back page of the Dandenong Journal last week, you would have seen a full page of a place called Red Roo. They're actually called Hoops, and they operate out of Princess Highway. They've actually had 20 students who have received athlete scholarships to the USA. I know it's a private-run business, but that's fantastic. And if you see those kids that have actually got those scholarships, they come from a very, very low socioeconomic background. Through you, Madam Mayor, I'd like to ask you if you could sign a letter of seal and congratulate Hoops on their achievement, and really want to work closer with private businesses that do bring people from low socioeconomic areas who get no funding from governments, who are actually achieving these great results, because I do know many other community groups who are achieving and getting so much funding from governments, and we don't even hear of results like this. So if that's possible, Madam Mayor, I'd like you to write a letter to congratulate Hoops, and I think they've done a magnificent job.
Yep, thanks, Councillor Mehmeti. I have met with Mr Kerr on several occasions and seen the incredible work that they do, and I have tried to connect them with Ms Gillies and our community strengthening team, so we will continue to do so, and I'm happy to write that letter. And if there was anything else you'd like to add, Ms Gillies.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I can absolutely confirm that we've connected them with South East Leisure as well.
Thank you. Also getting to the end of our term, we're going to caretaker from the 17th of this month, which is only, I think, about 9 days. So congratulations to the Deputy Mayor and Mayor on a fantastic year. It's definitely been a challenging year, and I think you've done a wonderful job, and you should be both very proud of what you've achieved. And to my colleagues, the last 4 years hasn't been easy, through COVID and the challenging budget restraints and big ticket items that council is embarking in. If we are re-elected in the next term, we've got big things to look forward to happening, like the Dandenong Aquatic Centre, the Dandenong Wellbeing Centre, and also the Dandenong Community Hub, who are two major projects that I'd like to be part of. And today I walked into the VEC Centre here on Lonsdale Street and have re-nominated again. So if I'm lucky and fortunate enough to be re-elected, I would love to continue working for our community over the next 4 years, and it's been an absolute pleasure to serve another 4 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Mehmeti. Councillor Dark has just stepped out, so we'll go to you, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Lim.
Thank you, Mayor. Just maybe a quick one. I already emailed to our governance. On a Wednesday, we have a committee conversation of Springvale revitalisation, like Councillor O'Reilly already mentioned. Thank you for our acting CEO, Mr. Manivasa Gasalam, that organised it with his team. A great one for our community to understand what our future of Springvale. And also on Thursday, I had a chance to have a good meeting again with the Springvale Community Hub. Yes, we have to look at our future of our hub, not just the Springvale, Dandenong, Keysborough South, the sort of thing. And on a Friday also, I had a chance to attend the ministerial launch of the Rainbow Library Toolkit Public Library Children Youth Services Seminar with Minister, Equal Minister. Her name is Honorable Harriet Shings. So in afternoon, I had a chance to meet with Sister Work just regarding to job prospect for our resident. And because I have a lot of connection how to find a job for our resident in our Springvale Activity Center and all across our city as well. And on the Saturday 31st, in the morning, I had a chance to attend what we call Onam Celebration, Malayali Federation. That's a great one, a very successful one. By afternoon, we had a chance again. Thank you for our director, Peter Gelly, that organized a safety forum for us, especially with the WIC poll and so on. That's a great one. People understand a lot what police is all about. I can tell you a long one short if you want to know. A long one. The police try their best, work very hard, short of police because no one wants to become a police. From time to time, honestly, I meet Shane Patton from time to time, also former police commissioner as well. As long as they saw my face, they know exactly what question I'm going to ask. They said, Richard, I try my best. No one wants to be a policeman, honestly. They work very hard, honestly, to you. Police in Springvale, police in Dandenong, all those people work very closely with us in Springvale. Honestly, if you want to meet, I arrange any time. Any question I ask, anytime I ring them, they try to help as much as they can. That one on the 3rd, and by at night, I with Mayor and with our Member of Parliament, like Tim Richardson and some Mr. Lee Talamas, attend my room. It means the children cancer charity. That's a great success one. I think everyone should attend in sometime from time to time in your lifetime because to see how you feel. You put someone in someone else's shoe. You never know if you never go. This please, understand how the children suffer is our future, our country. And also, on a Sunday, I had a chance to attend Hakka celebration, Father's Day celebration. They invited me just to catch up with them and to understand what do they want from our council. On the Tuesday, I have, again, Community Safety Forum that I already mentioned as well. Thank you for our director. And also on Wednesday, I have a chance to attend the WASA, just regarding to maybe health seminar more to understand how to look after themselves. On Thursday, I had a chance again to attend with Mayor our season ceremony, the first session, second session, Councillor attend as well. On the Sunday, Moon Festival, Councillor O'Reilly already mentioned, it's a great success as well. And that's about all for me. Thank you. And the most important, I would like to ask our director and our council officer to help me because I monitor our traffic in Springvale. Just unbelievable. Chock-a-block because people love to come to Springvale, but first of all, they don't know where the car park are. If possible, we can put what we call the large parking sign in some corner of the street. And secondly, how we're going to resolve this sort of problem, especially car park, because they love to come to Springvale from different parts of our city, from even Maribyrnong, Mayor mentioned about that, Brimbank, Mayor of City of Monash mentioned that because they love to come to our Springvale Activity Center, how we're going to make this car park more possible for our visitor. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Deputy Councillor Lim. We'll ask Mr. Feist if he could respond, please.
Yeah, thank you for your question, through Mayor, Deputy Mayor. Council Office are currently looking at the parking strategy plan for Springvale to look at the rollout of parking signage within the township. So we'll take your question on notice, but happy to provide that information around implementation and when those signage installations will take place.
Thank you. Did you want me to go?
Thank you. First of all, I just would like to inform everyone first about this Wednesday I organized with the WIC poll again, the Crime Stopper, Crime Squad, going to work with me all over Springvale Activity Center. If anyone wants to know about the safety, about anything, how the police can do it, please come along. I organize a couple of hours myself with the 2 police or maybe a couple of police at Crime Stopper. If you love to come, please come along. That's for another issue for our business owner to understand about safety of our city as well, especially Springvale Activity Center. Now, as outgoing Deputy Mayor, I would like to give a speech and thank you to everyone, our council officer, our councillor, and so on. But first of all, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodian of this land, the Bunurong people, and pay my respect to their elders, past and present. I recognize and respect their continuing connection to climate, cultures, country, and waters. I want to start by thanking the Mayor, our Councillor Lana Formoso, and my fellow councillor for their support over the past year during my term as a Deputy Mayor. It has been a great to serve alongside with you, Lana. You are great, our Mayor, and also you work tirelessly, work very hard, your passion, your dedication, and also you take care of our community as well. It has been a pleasure to serve the Greater Dandenong Committee, but especially the Ward Springvale Councillor over the past 4 years. I'm very proud of Springvale and have worked hard to see it prosper over my term as a councillor. From the official opening of the Springvale Community Hub to the completion of the Springvale Boulevard project and the recent adoption of Springvale Revitalization Action Plan. I am proud to have supported the work toward putting our city on a global map following extensive community consultation, which involved face-to-face workshops and online activities. The Springvale Revitalization Action Plan was adopted by Council in May. This 10-year plan will deliver a range of exciting initiatives to the Springvale Activity Center, including new infrastructure, streetscape improvements, better and safer pedestrian access, and more green spaces. It is great to see action toward making Springvale an even better place to visit, and I'm looking forward to seeing these projects unfold. Every year, this council celebrates our vibrant, diverse community through a range of festivals and events. One of the biggest, our annual Springvale Snowfest, which was attended by more than 35,000 people this year. Our diversity is always on display for all to see, and I am proud to have been able to attend a wide range of events celebrating the different cultural traditions that are important to our residents. The many different, the many official events I have attended have proven that the city of Greater Dandenong really the city of opportunity. This city has provided me and my family with great opportunity, and I am also proud alongside with my fellow councillor, so to extend those opportunities to everybody in our community. My role as Deputy Mayor, I'm proud to say I'm worked toward fairness, equality, respect, inclusion, and compassion. Over the past year, I have attended events to celebrate our city's multicultural community and our volunteers. I have met with our young leaders, business leaders, and community groups working to make a difference in our city of Greater Dandenong. It has been so rewarding to be able to talk to these people and discover their concerns and celebrate their successes. I want to thank again to our CEO, Mrs. Wedero, as well as the executive team and all staff who have supported me during my term as Deputy Mayor. This is an organization full of hard workers that continue to work toward the best outcome for everyone in our community, and I have been proud to present it. Thank you very much to everyone in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my first question this evening has to do with some queries I've had for some residents regarding Chandler Road. particularly from the Cochrane Avenue, Elmbank Festival and Parkmore, to do with the obstructions that are happening from people attempting to turn out onto Chandler Road. I think it is happening up further, particularly I think in Councillor Tan's ward as well, because there seems to be a frequently large amount of crashes that keep occurring on Chandler Road, some which are becoming near fatal and some which have been fatal, where there's been fatalities as well, where people have unfortunately been knocked off motorbikes and been clipped by cars. It seems to be quite a recurring occurrence, and I've had a couple of residents, and there's been conversations and messages I've received regarding the obstructions, either cars that are parking too close to the corner, whether there's not enough sufficient no standing space, or whether there's the fact that the trees are overgrowing to the point where it's obstructing views. And people then, as a result, are not being able to see who's coming their way. I just want to find out from the relevant officer what program is in place in terms of being able to review, I suppose, the parking allocations, where and how people are able to park, and also with the trees in areas there as well.
Thanks for that, Councillor Dark. Is there any line marking for cars on the side of the road there? No. Mr Feist, if you could respond, please.
Through you, Mayor. Happy to take the question on notice and investigate it further and come back to the councillor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my next question is a question I've raised previously regarding the 4 Court Reserve in my ward, and that is runs between Brett Drive and Chapel Road. And the reserve has got a very large green open space that gets mowed somewhat regularly, and there's some existing foliage along one side. But there, along most of the other 3 sides there, along where the fence lines are and towards the back, there's actually no trees that are being planted there. And I know I've raised it in the past. It was raised with me actually by a resident on the weekend that it's one of the reserves that council has somewhat forgotten about in terms of the allocation upgrades. And a lot of that comes from the fact that when we upgrade a significant amount of larger reserves, that the smaller reserves appear to look somewhat neglected. I just want to find out from the relevant officers, I know I did ask this previously, whether we have programmed anything for any planning or planting of any larger trees or landscaping of the reserve.
Thank you. We'll ask Mr Feist to respond to that one as well, please.
Through you, Mayor. I'm happy once again to take the question on notice and investigate that and come back to you with a response.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my next question is my final question for tonight, and it has to do with the rollout of the Rainbow Libraries program. And this was something that has attracted significant media coverage. I've received 3 or 4 emails, some from cookers, some from normal residents, particularly given the comments, I suppose, that have come from the Herald Sun regarding the fact that the program was rolled out in Springvale. It was rolled out with, I suppose, councillors in attendance, with ministers and MPs as well. And the significant concern was around the targeting age of 5-year-old kids to identify what their gender is, and basically to start very, very, very young, what I would say is probably almost weaponising the kids and causing mass confusion with what is going on. I did try and find the toolkit. I found a lot of references to it, the standard media release from every Labor MP under the sun in the South East saying how great the program is without actually going into detail. But the concern I've got is that the libraries that we have in the city of Great Dandenong, in Australia's most multicultural municipality, in a municipality that is disadvantaged, should be educational and helping them be able to learn and have access to internet, have access to literacy and numeracy standards, rather than having woke ideology get them to the point where if a 5-year-old comes into the library, the query is immediately put on them what they identify as. Can I just have a query from the relevant director, explain exactly what this program is, how it's being rolled out, and what the City of Great Dandenong's role is and what we're intending on doing?
Thanks, Councillor Dark. We'll ask Ms Gillies to respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Dark, excuse me, for your question. Certainly the program was rolled out by the Victorian State Government last week, I believe. It may have been the week just before last, and they did hire use of some of our space as per any property hire that would access Springvale Town Hall, or Community Hall, sorry. In terms of what it means for City of Greater Dandenong, certainly we will look at and review what's contained within the toolkit. There's not an automatic commitment that we would adopt and roll out what's contained in the toolkit. It was literally the state government launching their product. So we will certainly review that over time. I do note that we've got the LGBTQIA+ advisory committee going through the process at the moment, post-council having endorsed those terms of reference. So I would suggest, and I don't know if you'd like to make comment, but I would suggest it's actually something that might be really relevant for that advisory committee to review once it's established.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for that. Look forward to receiving that email back. Mayor, as it was said by Gough Whitlam, it's time. And after 2,920 days on this council, my time is up. It has now been 8 years. It has been 2 terms. And I think that I'm now at a stage where the 3 companies I have, the obligations to my staff, to also my family with the recent health scare, has been picking up significantly. And my commitment of being able to deliver to my residents and to the residents of the city of Great Dandenong as a whole is just getting too much and is too significant for me to be able to continue. So here in the last council meeting, I am telling you that I'm not running for the Cleveland ward. I'm not running for any other ward. And at the age of 31, now, as I found last month, the first grey hair, and for those on my social media will see that photo, it is in fact a grey hair, that I am now ready to move on to the next chapter of my life and my career as well. There will be no regular questions from Tim Duck from Keysborough, as there is by another former councillor from Noble Park. There will be no bombardment, no consistent questions. There will be no attendance at council meetings. It is basically at a point where now certainly my life has changed, my goals have changed, and I believe that I have delivered everything I possibly can to the council at this current stage. Since I was elected to originally the first paperback ward at 23 years old, having all of the Noble Park, all of the old part of Keysborough, 43,000 constituents that I represented, and first being elected, walking through the streets of Noble Park at 1 or 2 in the morning when I was unable to sleep, to being fortunately elected actually in this building where it was declared up on level 3 and 4, to the shock of many people actually that I was the very first person elected succeeding Peter Brown, and the heckling that started as soon as that was announced, and then over the 8 years getting to where I am today has been a significant learning journey, but it is something that I have thoroughly liked. No question about it, the battles, the fun, the entertainment, the travelling, the media, all the fun you could possibly have in the city of Great Dandenong, I believe I've had. The overseas international trips to China and to Sri Lanka on behalf of the council, being able to actually go and see what is going on and representing the council. Mind you, that is at my own payment. There was no expenses to the ratepayers before somebody comments to the Journal. But certainly now at this stage, we have got a lot of the master plans that I came into this council to deliver. One of the biggest things I had when I was first elected was to deliver infrastructure, and that was the key part. The ward, when I was first elected, had dilapidated infrastructure. No maintenance plans, no future goals. Clubs were saying that they had significant amount of issues to do with the funding of the infrastructure, of the fencing, of the lights, of the sports grounds and the community facilities. And over those 8 years, particularly to do with things like the Parkfield Reserve, where Noble Park United play, Rowley Allen Reserve on Cheltenham Road, Kimura Reserve, where the Keysborough Soccer Club plays, and Kimura Cricket Club, Ross Reserve master plans, many, many more. They are looking absolutely phenomenal. But there's nothing better, I suppose, of all the reserves than, as what Councillor Tan mentioned before, the Walker Reserve. And it is a ward that the reserve that I'm probably the most proud of at the moment. If you look at the photos from when I was first elected, it was dry, it wasn't heavily used. People would openly say that they would go down to the new estates of Keysborough, down to use the Pirate Park, to use the Pencil Park, and the biggest contest started over the Keysborough South Maintenance Levy about how the fact that my residents were going to their ward to using their reserves and they were paying the $350, but now they're coming to my ward. They're coming to my ward, and I was down there only a couple of weeks ago talking to a couple of residents, and they said that they live on Summerfield Drive North, and this is the best playground in the area. So that just shows how good the Keysborough ward is. The other infrastructure things like the Chandler Road duplication from the Dandenong bypass to Cheltenham Road was something that I fought for fiercely, and being able to get the Vic Roads consent for the widening, the landscaping improvements, and then having a lot more traffic flowing is something that I know a lot of residents were very, very, very happy about. The Keysborough facility, the kindergarten facility at the Keysborough primary school site, having a shared use facility, something that a lot of people use in my ward. It's something that people have really, really, really been excited with. And seeing things such as the Keysborough South Community Hub finally start to actually come up from the ground, the panels go on, the roof's going on, it's starting to take shape. It's something that's really, really, really exciting. And there's no question about it that this is the best council that you can have in the States, and I've always fiercely defended what the City of Greater Dandenong has done the whole time, and certainly is something that I've still continued to advocate for. Not only that, obviously, as my business is located within the city of Greater Dandenong, that's not moving. But certainly I will still be around in the area, not bombarding council, so the directors can rest easy. And certainly after all the years in this council, to my colleagues who have been with me on both terms, for those that have served one term, to all the executive staff, those that are still with us and those that have gone, for those I'm friends with on LinkedIn and everything else as well. A big thank you, a big thank you. So once again, I just want to say thank you to everybody and best of luck with your future campaigns, whether you are successful or not. Hopefully you're all successful. And then, yeah, best of luck with everything. But thank you very much. And for now, my time is up. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Dark. I don't know whether to laugh or cry, but thank you for your incredible service during your time here at the City of Greater Dandenong, and the best of luck to you and your future endeavours. You've got a bright future ahead of you, even with the one grey hair. You've got a lot to catch up for with mine, so all the very best of luck. I will table the events that I've attended over the last few weeks. However, I will have to, you will have to endure a few minutes of my outgoing mayoral speech. So if you could just bear with me, and I'll do my best to get through it as quickly as possible. With the council election upon us, I want to take this opportunity to reflect on my time as mayor and also the past 4 years on this council. We have worked hard and achieved so much, and I want to highlight some of those achievements. I want to begin by saying it has been an honour and a privilege to serve as a councillor for the Noble Park North Ward for 2022 to 2024 term, and particularly as Mayor of the City of Greater Dandenong for the past year. I would wholeheartedly like to thank Councillor Richard Lim, who has been a great Deputy Mayor and tirelessly working to fill in and step in when I haven't been able to attend particular events, and often attending the events that I'm even going to as well. So always been a good sidekick, so thank you. As well as the CEO, Jackie Weatherall, and the incredible executive team who have all come on board during this term of council. Thank you to you all. And I also need to thank council officers and staff who continue to work hard in support of our community. Thank you for your dedication to your work in serving the residents and ratepayers of Greater Dandenong. I would also like to thank my fellow councillors for their time serving the Greater Dandenong community. Special thanks to Joe Thorne, who we all know is our left and right arm, Executive Assistant to the Mayor and councillors. Joe's assistance and organisation skills have supported us to be at our best for the past 4 years. She continues to be a great support to all of us, and none of us would really be able to do what we do without her. I want to thank the dedicated and passionate community members I have met and worked with over the past 4 years since becoming a councillor. The resilience and the positivity I see within our community has been one of my biggest inspirations. Together, we have worked to shape a more inclusive community that will bring great outcomes for future generations. Particularly volunteers and leaders in our community groups, schools, kindergartens and council volunteers. As Mayor, I have had the privilege of meeting so many of you and seeing firsthand the great work that you all do. I was born and raised right here in Dandenong, and I have great pride in this community and all we have worked together to achieve. Over the term of this council, we have contended with some major challenges, from the continued COVID pandemic, which almost postponed the last council elections, to the ongoing inflation and cost of living pressures experienced across our society. I've given many speeches over the past year, and I always mention with pride that Greater Dandenong is the most culturally diverse municipality in Australia, something I'm deeply, deeply proud of. A wonderful part of the role of Mayor is the privilege to preside over citizenship ceremonies where people take the final step in the migration journey to formalise their full membership of our community, something that my parents did some decades ago right here in the City of Greater Dandenong. I've been pleased to preside over 9 ceremonies and confer Australian citizenship for 1,373 candidates over the past year, which was an incredible honour. I want to first focus on some other highlights of my year as Mayor. We celebrated the completion of a number of projects at Ross Reserve, including the $10 million Ross Reserve Pavilion, the synthetic soccer pitch, and redeveloped athletics track, which Councillor O'Reilly and I fiercely advocated for. These projects took place over the term of this council, and it's great to see it all come together. We resolved to continue to deliver disability and aged care services to our community. Construction is well underway on the much anticipated Keysborough South Community Hub, which I visited just last week, and it is looking absolutely spectacular. Council advanced work on the Dandenong Wellbeing Centre with that project out for tender right now. It is a credit to the unwavering commitment of this council to this once-in-a-generation project for our community. It is a great legacy we can all be proud of, ready for construction to begin early in the next council term, something that will absolutely be a game changer for our community. We introduced a dusk to dawn cat curfew and a local law for tree protection on private land. This new law has contributed to our tree canopy increasing from 9% in 2018 to 14% this year, putting us well on our way to reaching our target of 15% coverage by 2028. The Revitalised Central Dandenong project took a significant step forward with the recent state government announcement of the approval of the development plan overlay. This brings us a step closer to revitalising Central Dandenong with more affordable housing and a safe and vibrant precinct for our local economy and community to prosper, something I've been anticipating for decades, but better late than never. Our council was one of the 9 to sign an agreement for the South East Metropolitan Advanced Waste Processing Facility, which will see 95% of household waste diverted from landfill and used to create a valuable energy source. This year, we implemented the Springvale Revitalisation Action Plan, which includes a number of cultural, economic and public realm initiatives. This action plan follows on from works already carried out in this council's term, including the completion of the revitalised Springvale Boulevard. I was also elected as a board member for the Victorian Local Governance Association by my fellow councillors in Victoria, which was incredibly humbling. Finally, following a persistent, sustained advocacy campaign I have led with council, the state government announced funding for a Stud Road traffic safety project. This issue was particularly important to me and was a catalyst for me standing for election 4 years ago, so I am particularly proud of this outcome. It will result in much improved safety for pedestrians, cyclists and other road users. We also successfully secured the Department of Transport and Planning's agreement to reduce the speed limit from 80 kilometres an hour to 60 kilometres an hour on this very dangerous stretch of road. The last council election was held during the COVID pandemic, and while the construction of the Springvale Community Hub and Library was completed in the previous council's term, it was officially open to the public during our term. It was a very special celebration during a very challenging time for our community, and it is well utilised today. Greater Dandenong City Council continued to support our community throughout the pandemic, and during our first 12 months as a council, we faced many challenges. I'm proud about how we supported individuals and businesses during the pandemic, including with financial support, food relief and material aid. As the world began to open up again, we continued to support their recovery. During this council's term, we have continued to advocate to state and federal governments to address key issues facing the most vulnerable members of our Greater Dandenong community, including homelessness, poverty, gambling and social and affordable housing. The local government mayoral task force supporting people seeking asylum continued their great work, along with Back Your Neighbour advocacy campaign. Support for this work rose, and there are now more than 40 local councils supporting the campaign. This campaign has already had great success and continues to advocate for the rights of people seeking asylum. We also continue our work to embed
reconciliation across council for our traditional custodians. Other highlights over the past 4 years of this council include the Noble Park Revitalisation Project, which has seen $2 million injected into rejuvenating the centre and reinforcing its village character through activations and public art projects. I highly recommend you all have a look at them. They're absolutely fabulous. The completion of the state-of-the-art gym at the Noble Park Aquatic Centre, the All Abilities Playground at Ross Reserve, which I believe is probably one of the best in the state. Strong investment across sporting infrastructure, including the completion of the $6 million redevelopment of Dandenong's WJ Crowe Pavilion, new netball courts at Springvale Reserve, tennis courts at Burton Park and Parkfield Reserve, as well as a number of other upgrades, including better lights and sports grounds across the city. And everyone knows how much I love sport. Most importantly of all, I would like to acknowledge my greatest achievement in life. My beautiful sons, Luca and Hugo. I hope you guys are watching. You are my guiding stars. Everything that I do is to help build a better future for you and for future generations. My entire family have stood by my side every step of the way to ensure I can best serve our community, all whilst facing an incredibly challenging personal experience. My eldest son, Luca, was fighting for his life when he was diagnosed with leukemia in 2022 at the age of 9, whilst I still continued to serve this community. Luca, not only have you now beaten cancer, you have also taught me on this journey the true meaning of courage and that nothing is impossible through prayer and a positive mindset. Thank you to my family for the sacrifices you have made to help me lead and serve our community. I hope I've made you all proud. Thank you, Greater Dandenong. Thanks. Mr. Manivas-Gasavam, you have some questions that need to be tabled from the last council meeting?
Yes, happy to table them.
Thank you. Item 7, urgent business. As there is no urgent business, item 8, close of business at 9:12 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Good night. All the very best, and please take care. Thank you.